Indexing factors for Social Security specific to your record. We're going to dive into that here today. It's huge. It's a wonderful website, ssa.gov. It's wonderful. I'll share the link to you too in the show notes, because as you're contemplating going back another year to your crappy old job, or saying, I'm done with these guys, I'm out of here and I'm going to go do what I want to do, which is raise chickens, go work on a SpaceX thing with what's that guy's name, Elon Musk, be into backyard engineering with PVC pipe, do whatever you want to do. But as you're contemplating that, you got to understand how Social Security works relative to you specifically, not to what just a statement shows you. So welcome to Heritage Wealth Planning YouTube channel, my friends, the place you come to learn all about retirement planning strategies and what you need to do to quit that crappy old job. All right, so let's dive right into this. So, I've talked a lot about indexing. So remember, the indexing that we talk about is that you have your Social Security, and Social Security says, oh, you made $11,000 in 1985. And you're like, oh, man, that's not going to pay me anything when I retire, $11,000. But you got to look at the indexing factor. So let's talk about it. When we compute a person's benefit, we use a national average wage indexing series to index that person's earnings. Such indexation ensures that a worker's future benefit reflect the general rise in standard of living occurred during his or her lifetime. Wage indexing depends on the year in which the person is first eligible to receive benefits. For retirement, that eligibility is age 62. So if a person reaches age 62 in 2019, then 2019 is the person's year of eligibility. So for me, I will reach 62 in 2032, which would be my first year of eligibility, all right? And that's important. So it depends on what year you were born, but remember, age 62 is when your first year of eligibility and what they used in terms of your own index rate. An individual's earnings are always indexed by the average wage level 2 years prior to the first eligibility when they hit 60 years old. Thus, for a person retiring at 62 in 2019, the person's earnings would be indexed to the average wage index for 2017, which is $50,321. Earnings in a year before 2017 would be multiplied by the ratio of the 2017 average wage index for that year and the indexing for the other years as well. We'll talk about that here in just a second. All right, so now earnings in 2017 or later would be taken at face value. So you don't get any indexing from 60, 61, 62, and so on. You get cost of living adjustments, but the index factor is gone at that point. And we'll dive into another video comparing COLAs versus indexing and see what they look like. So just remember, at 62 is when your year of eligibility first starts. And they'll stop the 2 years prior when you turn 60. You're no longer get indexing growth on your earnings at 60. It's going to stop right there. You will get cost of living adjustments, but not indexing growth. Does that make sense? A person's index earnings are used to calculate their AIME, and I've talked about that a million times a Sunday, the average index monthly earnings, AIME, and that's what your primary insurance amount is based on. So we use the AIME to compute the person's primary insurance amount, and the PIA, the primary insurance amount, is based on your AIME, which is the amount you'll get at your FRA, your full retirement age. Those three acronyms you got to know. AIME, average index monthly earnings. FRA, full retirement age. For me, is 67. Oh, am I going to sneeze? Excuse me. And then PIA is your primary insurance amount. Note, if you select a year after 2019, we will use average wage changes that were estimated in the intermediate assumptions in the latest trustees report. All right. So 2019, you just hit 62 and you're like, man, what is my indexing numbers? We type in 2019. That means you're 62. And it gives us this right here. So let's write this down. And we're going to say 1990, just for simplicity. You had an index rate of 2.38. 2.38. All right, so you see that right there, 2.38 as your indexing for 1990. And this is if you're retiring in 2019. That's your first year of eligibility, not that you're retiring in 2019. Now, what we do go down here is we see 2017, it stops at 1, 2018, it stops, and then we'll go forward as well. Now, that does not mean you don't get cost of living adjustments. You absolutely do. But in terms of indexing, it stops at when you hit 60. Right? So it stops at your first year of eligibility, and it'll stop 2 years previous. All right, so let's go back. So that's in 2019. Now let's go for me. And I'm, like I said, I'm born in 1970. My first year of eligibility is 2032. which is when I turn 62, 2032. Let's hit enter. Yep. And then let's see right here. Now, what they're doing is they're saying, look, 2017, 18, we're going to use the average based on what the trustees report does. So that's not guaranteed right here. They're just assuming that is going to be the what my indexing going forward was, because we don't know. But they're going to use it based on what the trustee report shows is what they think it's going to be. But notice in 2017, I got an indexing of 1.7, whereas if you retired, if your eligibility is 2019, you get 1 right there. Does that make sense? Because they're assuming that my salary that I'm making today will be indexed to cover until I'm 2032, which is my first year eligibility, where you don't need it covered anymore because theoretically you're going to retire. But notice in 2030, when I turn 60, it's still 1, so I don't get any more indexing. So mine at 1990 theirs was 2.38. Mine is 1990 4.07. All right. So you see the significant difference there. So if we just take say you made $25,000 in 1990 and I made $25,000 in 1990. Well, I'm going to get much more for that simply because I have a higher indexing rate. So $25,000 for me, 4.07 is $101,000 for my Social Security wage index. For that will go into my average index monthly earnings at 101.7. For you, though, $25,000 times by 2.38 is $59,500. So basically, I'm making twice what you are from 1990 earnings. Now, the reality behind that is because you're 13 years ahead of me, you were probably making more money in 1990 than what I was, because you had 13 years of career advance and whatnot. And so at the end of the day, that's what they're saying. Say, look, Josh is only at 1990. I was still in the Army. I was making $10,000 a year. I was only I was 20 years old at that point, whereas you were 32. So theoretically, you had many years ahead of me to be building wealth, where I was literally just out of high school for 2 years. So that's the difference there. So that's how it works. So whenever you turn 62, what you want to do to find out exactly what your earnings is, you go down here and say, I turned 62, and I'll say I'm 55 today. And let's see, I'm 55 today, so I turned 62 in 7 years, right? Yeah. So that'd be put me at 2025. So 2025, and we hit submit request. And then if you turn that, you'll see here again, they're going to stop in 2000. What did I do? 2025, 2020. Oh, wait, what did I do? Did I do 2000? Oh, I did 2020. I want to do 2025. There we go. Excuse me. I said, wait, that didn't sound right. 25. So if I'm 55 today, this will be my indexing. It'll be the same for everybody who's 55, by the way. So 2023 is when I turn 60. 2024 is I'm turning 61. 2025 is my first year of eligibility. In 1990, I got 3.08 as my indexing amount. So it's good to know all this stuff, because you got it. This is specific to you. So remember, this will be anyone who who's 55 today. This will be their index amount. Anyone who's 48 today, that will be their index amount when I just showed you, assuming that we're all born on the 1st of January, if that makes sense. So this is a huge thing. I'll put the link to the show notes. I hope you use this, because it can really help a lot when it comes to your own Social Security benefits. So as always, you like what you see here, subscribe, comments, questions, thoughts. I love to hear them. They always help me immensely. So don't forget to do all that. And of course, go to blog@heritagewealthplanning.com. We'll see you next time. Thanks, Dan.